Hey there folks, welcome back to what should be the final episode of Let's Play Together, staring at Yuna while she thinks about whether she wants to bring zombie Titus onto the world. No, it's actually Final Fantasy X-2. Don't think I'm going to do a whole lot with Creature Creator, so probably our next steps from here are going to be Final Fantasy X-2 Last Mission, which is the kind of largely story-free, from what I'm told, roguelike game. We get to play as Yuna and her gal pals, and it's set after Final Fantasy X-2. One of the reasons I couldn't jump ahead to play it first is because it contains this fairly massive spoiler. For the benefit of, well, you know, I know Bobo at least, possibly other people watching this, really didn't know any of the story of Final Fantasy X-2 or Final Fantasy X other than from watching my Let's Play. So I've tried to keep away, and I probably haven't been totally successful, from the big spoiler, which is that it is possible in Final Fantasy X-2 to bring Titus back to life. After all, Final Fantasy X is a beautiful game with a very sad ending. And I'll probably blather on about this when we get to the end, because I'll probably have a little bit of monologuing over the end credits to do about how very different Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2 are in a lot of ways. But last time, we showed what happens if you fail to defeat Vegnagun, so Spira is destroyed, which takes the form of colorful explosions at the Calmlands. And also, we showed what happens if Yuna gets to this point and actually has the Bahamut, Esper, Aeon, whatever, offer to bring Titus back to life. And she says no, and she's got a pretty weak sauce reason for saying no, because it doesn't seem like something that Yuna would do. Offered the chance for Titus to come back to life, she'd probably jump. But last time she said no, and I'm here to tell you that the ending plays out exactly the same as if you had not triggered this, which can happen in one of two ways. You don't get all the prerequisites, which mostly include talking to Macon about bringing people back to life, or you do what I did last time, which is I didn't realize you had to press X at that screen to trigger the choice. So I was planning on showing the choice and saying no at that point. Instead, I had to play through the last battles of the game again to get back to this point. And I got back to this point, and my recording software had been idle, and I got weird sync issues. So I actually had to play through the end of the game again. So, kicking myself a bit for that. Had something similar pop up on DW8. As I was watching it, the sound and the game visuals were desynced. Then, when I went back and watched the recording, everything looked fine. It was just something in, like, the sound was desynced for me, watching it, quote, live, and fine after that. And then I was never sure if my commentary was in sync with the sound or the game visuals. Either way, it was totally screwed. So, I don't know why I'm bothering to give you all the detail, other than to say that, yeah, technical issues meant I had to play through the game ending like 3 times in order to get to the point now where finally, Yuna, despite real and, I think, you know, pretty logical and valid concerns that this is a monkey's paw wish situation and Titus is going to come back as a slavering, brain-eating zombie, Yuna... Well, the Yuna of our first playthrough, who did all the side quests and who wanted to forgive the Guado and wasn't going to allow them to be butchered by the Ronso out of pure laziness, and played Spear Break and played Blitzball and did all those moral and upstanding minigames, aligned lightning towers and whatnot. Obviously, she wants Titus back, and as much as I think the ending of Final Fantasy X, the beautiful but sad ending of Final Fantasy X, is a bit ruined by this, I mean, for whatever her reasons, Titus is what Yuna needs to be happy, and I think she's kind of earned a little happiness at this point. So, yeah, let's bring him back. Let's bring back the whiny little Blitzball loser. Just a nod.
I can't promise anything.
Wait, what?
But we'll do what we can.
Well, why did you even bring it up, you little... You're just fucking with me. Oh, I could strangle you. If only you hadn't gone to... Your neck would be right about here. If only you hadn't gone insubstantial. And it turns out the shock twist ending of Final Fantasy X-2 is that she's told Titus is coming back to life and he doesn't come back to life, and... No. Anyway, come on, what the fuck is that? Well, I'm sure. Well, looks like Riku and Pain went on ahead without me. I sure hope I don't get killed by fiends on my way back to the surface. Presumably, she's equipped with a charm bangle for the ending scene. It would be a bit awkward if Riku or Pain were actually hanging around while she bartered with the spirits of the afterlife to restore her boyfriend to life. Or, you know, somebody else could have gone by, like Barreleye or Gipple. I mean, maybe Gipple really misses his dead mom. We don't know the backstories of these other characters. Anyway, so we have now initiated, with 100% completion and the restoring Titus things met, we should get the perfect ending, which is the good ending, plus a little scene at the end tacked on, which I'll identify when we get to it. The good ending is starts out exactly the same as the normal ending. We still have the three douchey leaders delivering their little speech at Luca. Matter of fact, I think the good ending is just the normal ending plus some extra stuff. There might not have been any point in showing off the normal ending at all. Maybe I shouldn't have played through this game twice. Maybe I got nothing except for the, like, 4 minutes of extra material with the Youth League.
We would sail a ship with me as its captain.
Captain Dummy.
In time, I became that captain. I found a new ship with new friends. My ship was the Youth League.
Now I'm getting paranoid because the speech and the audio are just a little off, but that's normal in this game. They were special. And I did the machine faction. You guys know about them, right? You guys totally care about us, dude. Sorry our renegade machine that Yuna never defeated in Act 5 is running amok and killing citizens.
There are some things you can't do alone.
But in another way, they represent the three kingdoms. You got Barreleye in green represents Shu, Nuge with the red obviously is Wu, and Gipple with the eye patch is basically Jihadu.
And we misused that power. We turned
particularly
our friends and
Nuge.
followers against each other.
I was bad, but Nuge was worse.
Forgive us.
Oh, innocent ones. Well, we're bowing now. Oh, Gamora.
Somehow we forgot. There's a much larger ship out there. One we've been riding ever since we were born.
Of course, part of this is also the fact that an evil spirit was ultimately possessing all of us. But we're not going to bother to bring that out here because, frankly, that whole plot was a bunch of crap.
We do know one thing. One way or another, we will get by. We'll go on living. The calm will continue.
I hereby declare that none of the three of us are going to die in the next 24 hours.
Just one more thing. We all owe thanks to a very special lady.
Oh, yeah.
You all know who I'm talking about.
Gipple, you horny little weirdo.
That she could be here today.
And that she'd wear that songstress dress for your hand. I like that one. Actually, her gunner dress fear is about as slutty as her outfits get. I mean, that is a lot of skin units showing her to full costume.
She left a message. She said she's going home.
And how come the men in this fantasy world have, like, really ornate coverings over everything? Well, I guess Nuge there is showing a lot of chest. But so maybe it changes from here. But if we get the scene of... Yeah, if we get this scene with Yuna telling Brother to go faster, then literally there was no reason for me to have played through and shown the normal ending.
Did we really have to leave like that? Just think of the party we're missing.
Yuna really wants to have sex with his zombie boyfriend, so... we gotta get her back to wherever he is.
Higher!
Well,
Brother!
Titus faded while falling from like 10,000 feet towards the ocean. So if she knows where their airship was positioned when that happened, they could go try to find him. Otherwise, he's gonna be reborn and then like die on impact. That would suck for him. So really, there was no I shouldn't have played through the game twice. I enjoyed it. I'd never gone through and done a fuck you run of the game where I just went out of my way to ignore everything the game wouldn't absolutely force me to do. And I'm talking over the ending, I know. You can go back and watch the
and the laughter that
the end of the
follows.
first playthrough if you want to.
I know that I'll keep
Oh
changing.
man, that Coleman statue is putting off an odd smell.
This is my story. It'll be a good one.
It's not gonna have Titus in it. I've changed my mind, Bahamut. Don't bring him back.
It all began when I saw this sphere of you.
I don't know for sure now that the... I don't think it's an added scene if you don't bring him back. But now that I'm realizing everything related to Titus coming back is post-credits, I'm not sure. Now there's a part of me that's going to want to go back and do this whole thing again. So for you guys, the end of the last video was I showed Yuna saying that she didn't want Titus back and that he was already lived in her heart, and Bahamut being like, really? You're going to just let him rot in hell? Okay. And then I declared that from that point on there was no new material at the end. But that's because I got to the credits and then kind of reset the console. So if there was a little short scene at the very end of Yuna just being like, maybe I should have brought Titus back, nah, then I didn't. Alright, so I was going to talk over the credits, but it's kind of messed up because I was going to reflect on things that I remember happening in the good ending, and now we haven't seen that yet. Is it a spoiler to say that Titus is going to come back to life? I don't think so. That's kind of... They were like, well, we're going to try to bring Titus back to life, but no promises, and she's like, okay. I don't think anybody's watching this from here thinking, okay, so Titus is going to be ignored for the rest of the game, right? But that's kind of the thing. See, Hetty Burris apparently has not done much else. Tara Strong I've seen in a lot of other video gamey stuff. Gwendolyn Yo, she may, I don't really remember off the top of my head. It seems like Hetty Burris is actually known for this, and then she was like, what's her name? She was like the female knight in the voice-acted remake of Final Fantasy Tactics. I don't know that she's done that much. And when I say I like Hetty Burris' voice acting, then I don't know that I've heard her in enough other stuff. I like Yuna. But I think Yuna's actually a fairly well-written character. Like, they make her all kind of soft and squishy and vulnerable and all that stuff that they tend to make characters in these games be. She's... what am I going with this? You sometimes have these games where, like, there'll be a female lead who's just, like, really over the top, out of this world, like, bubbly and frothy, and kind of comic relief silly. Or just, like, they go out of their way to make her act all strong and tough. Yuna's a fairly believable character, considering the bizarre fantasy situation she finds herself in. And she's like reasonably intelligent, but she's, I don't know. She just seems like a really kind of likable character. You're rooting for Yuna. And some of the stuff that they often do with their female characters, they did with Titus, of making him all goofy and over the top, cheery and stuff. I always thought it was very believable that as much as most gamers hate Titus, it did make sense that someone like Yuna would fall for Titus, because she was surrounded by people who felt really guilty about the fact that she was going to die, and kind of handled her with kids' gloves, because you don't want to upset the girl who's getting sent off to die. And Titus is kind of the guy who's just like, hey, how you doing? I'm going to talk to you like guys would normally talk to a good-looking girl. But boy, the ending of that, I mean, Final Fantasy X is a very different game from Final Fantasy X-2. Very different game. There's a little bit of, like, side quest type stuff opens up very late in the game. Like, once you get to Xanarkand Ruins and deal with the plot there, that's, like, really the first time you get a whole lot of, like, freedom of movement at all. And they can do stuff like, okay, if you... Oh, sorry, Quentin Flynn, that's right, I forgot about that. That's Raiden. But I'd kind of forgotten about all that. Yeah, like you can go chase butterflies and earn Kamari's ultimate weapon, or you can race chocobos and earn Titus's ultimate weapon, but you don't have to. These are all optional, and there's an optional dungeon, and there's a couple of optional Aeons. It all comes very, very late in the game, which is very story-driven, and has a very, I would say, carefully put-together story. Okay, yeah, so apparently there's not going to be a lot of English voice acting amongst the last mission stuff. Yeah, but it's a very, very carefully written out and figured out story. They take great care to really like introduce character beats and stuff as they go along, to the point where you really miss Lulu and Waka by the end of the game, because once they're kind of done unveiling them as characters and they bring in new characters, you just go along. Their importance drops off drastically, and you miss the beginning part of the game where you were getting to know Lulu and Waka and stuff like that. But it's just a story-driven thing. With a painful and beautiful ending, and you can kind of see the ending coming, and that doesn't make it any easier. That you're going to get to the end, and you keep hoping there'll be some twist. But the game kind of tells you, yeah, Titus ain't coming back from this last mission, and it's very sad, and it's kind of beautiful, and video games can rise to the level of emotional storytelling that books and movies can. It doesn't happen all that often, but it can happen. And then Final Fantasy X comes along, X-2 comes along with its 800 mini-games and sphere break nonsense, and fucking brings Titus back to life. I'm trying to think. I should have planned this out better. I'm trying to think what the movie example would be if there was Saving Private Ryan 2, where they find a way to bring Tom Hanks' character back to life. I don't know that anybody would really appreciate that. Or an actual thing I read, I didn't read it, but it was out there, that somebody had written a fan fiction where Faye Valentine brings Spike Siegel back with the Dragon Balls. You don't necessarily need to undo your really good sad ending. That being said, they did leave a little hint at the end of Final Fantasy X for people who were paying really close attention and who wanted to believe it. This was the departing image of Final Fantasy X. Titus, whom we knew was supposed to be dead, floating around in some unidentified ocean space, swimming back to the surface, and we're not really sure what's going on. Is he literally swimming to the surface? Is this just symbolize that he exists somewhere? And no, he just fucking pops up in the middle of the water one day. It's like, oh, that's funny, I thought I was dead. Conveniently, he appears on the Besaid Beach, as opposed to, say, where he started Final Fantasy X, out near that island. It's no longer accessible in Final Fantasy X-2. But if I'm Titus, I don't even know if I'm meeting up with Yuna again. I'm just like, oh, fucking cool. I'm not dead. I'm on like an island paradise. This is sweet. Hey, maybe I'll meet Riku. I always thought it would be interesting to try it out with her. But it turns out it's actually Shuya in a disguise. Oh, it's one of those ships from Cloud City. Oh, that's not. You know that brother can't be that happy about this reunion. He probably does want to kill him. How did you know he was going to be there? Well, I guess whatever miraculous force brought me back to life got my girlfriend a new skimpier outfit. This is total. It's like the entire game is fan service, but I guess this ending is the ultimate.
I think so.
I don't know. Why don't you grab me down there and see? Well, last time you tried to hug me, it didn't really work out that good.
You're back.
Yeah, it looks nice.
I am
Substantial.
back. I'm home.
Do I get a sweaty new outfit? I'm dressed like I was in the last game. Does Besaid count as home for him? He seemed like more of a Luca guy. Who's this? Waka's reaction to the reanimation of Titus's dead flesh? Sex joke.
Who asked you to watch, Waka?
You're on a public beach, brah. And Titus was like, "Oh my god, I thought you guys were like brothers and sisters. What the fuck are you doing with the baby?" And he also blows off Riku. That's nice. Let's go meet Orin. He came back to life too, right?
Hey! Whoa! You know, you've changed.
You're faster than you used to be.
I want to hear everything.
Wait, are you like 18 now? Oh, you're too old for me. I like him young. And that's the good ending, which I had forgotten that it doesn't replace any portion of the normal ending. It's just tacked on. Which really makes me wonder why I played through the fucking game twice, other than to watch the Ronso get murdered by the Guado, or vice versa. And now we should have one more scene, because I got 100%. And then we'll be well and truly out of shit to do with this game. Other than talk about how it completely ruined the ending of my favorite RPG ever. While still being a guilty pleasure in and of itself. It's too bad that you pissed off brother and we don't have an airship, because it took us months to walk here.
I got a theory. I think the Faith gathered up my thoughts and put them together to bring me back.
That couldn't have taken very long.
Maybe. Something like that.
This is the first time you've even thought about it? Presumably he's been back for a while, if they're like at Xanarkand. Okay.
Or maybe I'm still a dream.
Am I a sexy dream,
Wait.
Yuna?
So you'll disappear?
Yeah, that has to be kind of an unusual worry to have as a girlfriend, that your boyfriend will, quote, disappear. Not just not show up one day. Literally fade into fireflies on you.
Cherish me, Yuna. And I'll cherish you.
Is that a euphemism?
Alright? We gotta stay together. That's what we have to do.
Is that what the Faith told you?
If I don't love you enough, you'll die? That's kind of emotional blackmail, isn't it?
Nah, but I like it.
I know, it's only rock and roll.
Hey! Oh!
She pushed him to his death.
Hey! That's not cherishing.
You didn't disappear.
Now that I know I don't have to treat you well to keep you around, I'm gonna treat you like shit, because you literally owe me everything! Yeah, it's a bit happier than the last time they were here, I guess. So there you go. Yuna is the girl who saved the world twice, and the second time she does it, the spirits of the afterlife decide, you know what, let's give her back her boyfriend. I mean, we kind of owe her. She's really done a lot. And now it says the end, and I can't tell if that's supposed to be a question mark or not, but certainly as far as endings go, it's a nice place to leave the series. So, we'll get to playing it later. I don't know, I was really excited about it when I first heard about it, but I've heard things since that suggest it's going to be a real drudgery to get through. But this last mission is, plot-wise, there's not a whole lot going on. And the only characters who appear with speaking roles are Yuna, Riku, and Pain. So I think like there's dialogue where they discuss the fact that they all got together and are going out and exploring this tower, and that everyone else is still around, and Waka's doing his thing, and Lulu's doing her thing, and Titus is back in Besaid, and he and Yuna are together, and they're happy, and everything's all hunky-dory. And then they just have an adventure. So you're not going to see a whole lot of new progression if you're a Yuna Titus relationshipper, or shipper I guess is the term. You're not going to have like a whole lot to get out of this game. this is basically your little happy ending that Yuna always wanted, and the player, once you've seen it, you're like, did I want this? It's nice, I guess. But then I read about a thing, and this actually exists, and it was like some kind of like storybook with like I guess it was like a written story, like not a manga exactly, but official Final Fantasy merchandise, which was a story set after this, where the main characters are like a boy and a girl from the Xanarkand of the past somehow, and also it's about Yuna and Titus. And Yuna and Titus, like, I guess somehow the basis of the story is Yuna is given some false information which leads her to think that if she and Titus stay together, that Titus will fade away. So she breaks up with him and tries to make him not want to get back together again. And that's that's wrong. Titus and Yuna belong together. Oh my god, I'm sure by the end of the story that they'll be back together and everything will be hunky-dory. But apparently the story's getting around and introducing this, and this is where it's going, and then I guess it wasn't, nobody was interested and it wasn't making any money and it just dropped. So, you have multiple places where you can choose for your own personal story of Yuna and Titus to end. You can pretend this game doesn't exist because it's a collection of ridiculous mini-games and fan service, which was fun, but as a piece of like art, not really quite the well-constructed and told story Final Fantasy X was. In which case, at the end of Final Fantasy X, Titus dies and Yuna moves on. You can go with this ending, where they're ultimately super happy together, or you can decide that there's even another chapter after this. And I think it's part of the backdrop, not only are Yuna and Titus breaking up, and it's like this teen melodrama, also Sin somehow came back. We're just like, wait a second. I'm pretty sure I understood the story of the first game, and I'm pretty sure that can't happen. But, you know, maybe it's not so bad that we didn't get a Final Fantasy X-3. And you know what? If they were going to do a Final Fantasy X-3 and it was going to be about Riku, maybe just not having it be about one of these two characters was what needed to happen. But it's even possible that just saying goodbye to this series, that saying, okay, we did one complete game, which is how we normally do things in Final Fantasy X World, and then we tacked on an addendum, which was a lot less serious and just kind of more frothy and fun, and you can play the second one if you want, and you don't have to. That might have been the perfect way to handle it, because Final Fantasy 13 series got a bit weird. Anyway, my phone's actually ringing, and I'm just about really needing to end the video anyway, so I'm going to call it a video. And when we come back, I'm sure eventually I will be forced to play Last Mission. Hope you join me for that. Hope you enjoyed this LP. That was a bit of a random ending, but, you know, I think in this case I was saved by the bell, because I was totally out of things to say. Let me know what you thought of the LP. I think I enjoyed playing through a second time and just saying fuck it to all the minigames, but I'm not really sure that it was worth the effort at all. But hey, it's a great way to make sure that I allow viewers to gradually drop off an LP as they hit their limits of how much Final Fantasy X-2 they need to see at different points. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.